Okay. The next two slides show the objectives of each kind of test and who would be performing them. But for example, unit tests will be performed by the programmer, and the objectives is to make sure that a unit, for example, a class in Java or a files in C, um, work correctly by themselves, okay, in isolation. That means before it's hooked up to other uh, units. Integration test, here I wrote tester would be doing it. But yeah, it's most likely, but occasionally in a small shop, uh, even programmer may be asked to do that. So the division between programmer and tester may not be very clear cut in many shops, because many shops they do not have separate testers. But we want to be aware of the problem of not having separate testers, because as a programmer, I seldom see my own problem, okay? Or as a teacher, I may have some weakness as a teacher, but I may not know about it. Same with as a programmer, I write my program, problems with my program, I may not be aware of them. So that's why for many more thorough testing, you want to have a separate pair of eyes, someone else who did not write the program, then they can try to look at it from a new perspective. They have more opportunity, more better chance to find out problems in the program. So that's why lots of time we have people other than the programmers. Okay, but in Hong Kong, we are actually quite behind in software design. I would say the things that the tools we use, we are not as new, not as up to date as people in US and Canada. Okay, and also the technique we use, we are sort of a little bit behind in that. Um, so hopefully you can catch up with you guys can catch up. um, Integration testing, component work well after being integrated with other components. Functional, uh, meeting the functional requirements. Performance, meeting the non-functional requirement in terms of response and throughput. And user acceptance testing, do our user accept it? Installation, maybe it needs to be installed in multiple places, then it will become important. Usability tests, prospective users want to be able to use it without learning effort, and productive, and correct their user input errors easily. And regression, we want to test that after modification, existing features will continue to work rather than broke up. So some terminology in testing, a test suite, 一個測試嘅套裝 is a collection of test cases. And a test case describes how sometimes, because of the test automation, so the tests itself are programs. So when we say programs, sometimes it may be confusion. Are we talking about the programs for the end users or the programs used by programmer to test their own program? So sometimes we would use the word SUT to distinguish, so that now if we say SUT, system under test, that means it's the system we want to give to the end user. Okay, so that is not the system, not the test program we are using for automated testing. So SUT. is what we want to test. A test script is a step-by-step procedure to do tests, and sometimes it's written for human being to read, sometimes it's written for computer to execute. So both it depends. And the term oracle, it means is a mechanism to know whether a test should pass or should fail. I talked to you earlier about the IBM C compiler that I worked on. The oracle, what is the oracle in that case? The oracle are the two big documents about C language. Those are two documents that we rely on to know how should the software behave, what is pass, what is fail. But actually, there are some interesting case. You may have heard of this language called Ruby. Okay, Ruby is a multi-paradigm language. Although we did not teach it here, I taught it in 1 year. Okay, but now I've only used Python for that course. And its inventor is a Japanese guy. The short name is Mats. Okay, so imagine a Japanese guy, if he invented this language, if he has to write several hundred pages to define this programming language, a good chance that people may not understand his English, right? Because allow me to stereotype, Japanese English are not, well, I guess their written language sometimes is better than their spoken language, but still, he find it very difficult. So how did he define his language? He wrote his own compiler. Okay, so he wrote the compiler and say, okay, this is the oracle of the new language that I define. So now, if you are writing a new compiler for Ruby, then it better behave the same as this one. Okay, so that's I guess because he's a technical person, so he has the right to do something like this. But then maybe you wonder, well, if you already have a compiler written, then why do you still need to write other Ruby compiler or Ruby interpreter? Why? Well, for one thing, he only did that maybe for one platform, for one hardware platform. So there may be other people who wants to write Ruby compiler for different platform. That's one thing. Another thing is, well, he wrote the compiler with the purpose to define the language, but maybe it's not the best performing compiler. Maybe the compiling speed is too slow, okay? Or maybe it's not 嗱，譬如我哋 deal with compiler 嘅時候咧，可能有啲 compiler 可能佢 compile 得好慢啦，呢個係其中一個 problem 啦。再另外有啲可能咧就係咧，其實有啲 compiler 嘅 options 嘅 feature 咧，你哋可能唔知道咧，就係咧，差唔多全部嘅 compiler 咧，佢哋都會有以下呢啲幾個 feature 嘅。第一咧就係咧，譬如乜嘢嘅 warning message， 即係你想見到啲乜嘢嘅 error， 咩嘅 warning message。去到咩嘅 level 咧？咁呢個係其中一個 option 啦。又或者你想唔想你嘅 program compile 出嚟係 run 得快啲嘅咧？呢個都係一個可能性嘅喎。即係嗰啲差唔多所有 industry strength 嘅 compiler 咧都有呢一個 feature， 即係你可以 turn on 呢個 bug， 即係呢個係話我要你將我啲 code 咧 optimize 到係 run 得好快嘅，咁會點咧？即係話佢入邊佢做好多 optimization， 但係咧個唔好處係乜嘢啊？即係佢嘅 compilation time 又會 take 耐咗啦。咁同埋咧，如果你要 run 得快嘅時候咧，有時佢啲 code size generate 出嚟嘅 code size 又會大啲。咁呢個係一個可能性。咁有啲第二啲嘅directive 咧就係包括咗係可能係 optimize for code size。如果你想整出嚟 係放喺一個 device 嗰度咧，係冇乜 memory 嘅 ，memory 係好細嘅。咁可能咧，你會 turn on 個 compiler option 咧，就係話我而家 compile 呢啲 code 咧，就係要佢 code嗰啲 executable code 係要細嘅。咁佢又要 spend 多啲時間，咁個 compilation 又耐咗啦。咁所以即係話 Max 佢 define 佢嗰個 Ruby interpreter 嘅時候咧，佢就唔需要理呢啲啦，佢就係只需要 make sure 我而家淨係 define 我嘅 Ruby language。咁然之後有其他嘅人咧，佢就可以做咗呢啲 additional 嘅嘢嚇，同埋譬如另外有一啲咧，即係有一個同我哋學過 OCL 嗰個 invariant 係有關聯嘅。嗱 invariant 咧，我哋講過咧就係一啲嘅 property 咧係 always true 嘅 ，OK， 即係喺個 program 嗰度，譬如個 stack 係empty 嘅 slot 同埋 take up 嘅 slot 係應該係等於佢嗰個 stack size，OK， 嗱咁如果你做呢一啲有呢啲咁樣嘅 invariance 咧，如果一個 programmer 咧有一啲即係有一部分嘅即係如果好 care about correctness 嘅 programmer 咧，佢就會寫一啲嘅 assert statement。咁呢啲 assert statement 咧同普通嘅 comment 係唔同嘅。Java 有 assert，Python 有 assert， 差唔多所有現代化嘅似樣嘅 programming language 都有 assert 呢個字眼。呢個 assert 你就可以擺個 statement 喺入邊咧，就即係話咧呢個 Boolean condition 咧係 always true 嘅。即係類似我正話講過話，如果個 stack 個 free slot 同埋occupy slot always 係等於個 size。咁嗱寫咗呢一啲嘢喺度咧，有咩嘅好處咧？就係咧，你喺 turn on turn off 你嘅 compiler 嘅 option 嘅時候咧，你可以要求我 run 埋呢啲 assertion。如果你 run 嘅時候咧，佢就會 run 嘅時候會 check。但係咧或者譬如到你 fully tested 啦幾個月之後，你就覺得我唔需要再 run 呢個 assertion， 咁你就可以咧用一個 compiler 嘅 option 咧，就話我而家唔 test run 呢啲嘅嘢啦，咁就 turn off 咗，咁變咗佢 run time 嘅時候快啲啦。咁呢一啲嘢當然我哋同寫 comments 有冇分別咧？係有分別嘅，因為 comments 咧其中一個問題就係、當啲人 update 個 program 嘅時候咧，成日唔 update 啲 comments 㗎。所以咧，你而家睇翻啲 comments 咧，係好多時咧，如果你個 program 嘅壽命係已經超過3-5年嘅話咧，好有機會嗰啲 comments 已經係 untrue 㗎啦。咁但係如果你寫 assertion 就基本上係唔會，因為你係可以即係第一你可以 turn on 翻嗰個 compiler option， 就要去照 test run。如果佢唔 work 嘅話咧，即係如果係 false 嘅話咧，咁個 test 就會自動就會 detect 到咯。咁所以即係that's why 我就用咗一個好長嘅，即係一方面咧又教咗大家多啲一啲關於 compiler 嘅some new knowledge about compiler，and also using this case of explaining the term oracle. So oracle is the mechanism to determine how the software should behave, whether a test should pass or should fail. And we have documentation, or we can have a program to serve as that oracle to tell you what is right and what is not right. Okay, so a test case. So this diagram shows for each product you may have one or more test suite, and each test sheet you probably will have multiple tests in it, and each test should have a test case name, a test case description, and what program is trying to test, and where is the program, okay, so this is a test case, but you may have a test script that can execute, right? And what input data you would use, and whether it pass or fail, and so how do you know the test is successful? Okay, and some procedure if it requires some menu setup or menu involvement, because we said GUI automated testing involving GUI is hard. It takes lots of effort. So maybe you would have some steps that would still require people to interact with the software, but you can document it in a test case. Okay, so that is. This next slide discusses two kinds of testing, but it's think of it as a big family of they are not very specific testing technique. So black box means this testing technique only treat the SUT as a black box. You only care about what output you're getting uh, using input. Okay, so black box testing assume no knowledge of the program design, which is different from uh, white box testing. We will show later. We will show later a testing technique that, let's say, uh, for example, a path testing requires you to know whether what kind of internal program structure uh, a program may have. Okay, so this is a white box testing would would be dependent on how you write the program, but black box is the opposite. So uh, this, I guess, for white box depends on what data structures, what algorithms, and if then else, looping, whatever you're using, it depends your internal program design. But black box does not depend on that. That black box only depends on input and output. And this is some basic testing techniques we would learn: equivalence testing, boundary testing, path testing, and state-based. I'll also have two other more advanced techniques to teach you later. But testing, before we wrap up, this is our last slide for today. Uh, the reason that we learn this testing technique is we would approach the testing systematically, because we said input data is almost impossible to try all the possible input data. So we want to select the input data wisely. If we select it wrongly, then uh, we would fail in finding out bugs. Okay, no matter how many testing we do, if we choose bad test data, so by doing that, we try to identify what test data is most promising to find out there are bugs. So let's do that next week. So we will learn that next week. Okay, so this detailed testing. So uh, thank you for being here, and I'm I'll tell you later. So everything up to today, we would include in the term test. Was it 2 weeks later? 係咪啊 term test. 咁我哋就唔 test 下一個啦 OK? That means we'll only test up to today. Okay, so we won't get into the detail of testing technique. So thank you and see you next week.